Hello, everyone. We got a really unexpected drop. It seems like between PulseCon and then that whatever Walmart did, we got a ton of Transformers dropped on us, and we figured, well, there's nothing else, right? No, apparently not, because out of nowhere, an Earth mode Hound showed up. That's going to be part of Buzzworthy Bumblebee. That wasn't on anyone's radar, nor was the Hatchet figure that's going to come out along with it. So I love surprises like this, and I'm happy that there are some things getting through to the leakers that we're not really seeing anywhere else except when it's actually launched or announced. Like, that's actually kind of refreshing because it's more surprising. But with Hound's debut here in Buzzworthy, in this brand new Earth mode iteration, it does kind of leave me wondering. There's so many of these brand new figures for so many G1 characters at this point. I keep asking myself, well, who's left? Like, who's left that really needs a new toy at this point? I've done I've done multiple videos now at this point of these these characters need new toys, and more or less I'm trying to focus on characters who are either due for a toy or characters who have not really been seen on the toy aisle in a long time. Many of the ones I featured in those videos hadn't had like proper updated toys since their original releases. So I kind of want to tap that again, but this time we're going to go over who is left that I think needs another go around as a generation style toy. And we're not going to leave this to just like a top 10. We're not going to do it with, we're not going to like exclude anything that got new toys. If I feel like it's not good enough, or I feel like, yeah, this could have been done better, that's going to be in here too. So it's not just going to be characters who are missing. And before we begin, we're going to exclude a few things that we know are on the way. We have a Voyager Ironhide on the way, so we know, even without an announcement, we know we're going to get a Ratchet. We know from a leak that we're going to get a Brawn, which means we're going to get an Outback at some point. So I'm not really concerned about those with this list. So we're just going to go over who is left, both among characters who have no recent toys and as well as ones that need it still, even despite the new toys they got. Oh, and by the way, we're going to stick to the first 3 years because I know there's a ton of obscure ones in later G1 that still don't have a figure. We're not going to worry about those today. But we're going to start off by showing the cassettes a little bit of respect. Look at Buzzsaw here. He has not had a new figure since Titan's return, and it's not exactly representative of Buzzsaw, is it? And it's the most confusing one because we've had new Laserbeak toys, and you'd figure that's just as simple as paint the red yellow and boom, you've got a Buzzsaw. Well, the problem now is that it's such a small figure that they don't want to dedicate one mold to it. So it's always gang molded in with Ravage. So and they're always going to make, if they're going to make any one, they're going to make Laserbeak. But remember, in the original G1 toy, Buzzsaw was the one packed in with Soundwave. So it's a lot of collectors' first cassette. Deserves a little bit more respect than it's getting. All the cassettes do. I've made this argument before. We haven't had a proper Rat Bat, Slugfest, Overkill, have not gotten an update. Most of Blaster's cassettes, like Ramhorn hasn't had one since since Generations. Poor Steeljaw has never had a new toy. The one time they made a new mold for Steeljaw, it became Night Prowler first as a masterpiece release and has never gotten released as his original incarnation. Weird. But yeah, I would love to see more cassettes and more varieties of cassettes because the same old standard crew for Soundwave is getting a little tiresome. All right, how about mini-bots? Let's go through our mini-bot list. I did a video a while back where I mentioned that I'm having a hard time remembering what mini-bots haven't been redone at this point, and everyone was nice enough to remind me, oh yeah, there's been a lot. We've had a lot of mini-bots that still don't have a new figure. For instance, Seaspray, who has not had one since Titan's return. Titan's return was that generation was kind of the last push to get all those mini-bots done as legend scale figures, which was fine, but not every one of those characters fits the legend scale. They're depicted a little bit bigger than that, somewhere between like what we called a legend back then and a deluxe. That's why we're getting these deluxe mini-bots now. So I kind of feel like Sea Spray needs to be in there as well. So beyond him, Power Glide comes to mind. Now, they try to keep some semblance of scale when it comes to generations these days, like Starscream turns into a jet, he should be taller than Wheeljack, who turns into a car. That kind of thing. It's not a hard, fast scale, and the robot mode scale is what takes priority above all, but still, even Hasbro's designers mentioned they didn't think they would get away with a deluxe class jet, but now that Legacy Evolution is giving us Needle Nose, I do think there's room for Power Glide to actually be a thing, and I would love for that to happen because it's probably one of the better G1 mini bots. Between articulation and uniqueness, it's the only jet among them. So yeah, I would love to see it. I would absolutely love to see it. Beyond him, Wind Charger. Again, Titan's Return. Has not had a new one since. The Titan's Return figure is okay. The proportions are a little bit weird. You can see in the photo, like his legs are like really squat for some reason. A lot of those Titan's Return mini bots are decent enough, but you can definitely tell they make sacrifices to work in that Titan Master play pattern. So they all have these cockpits built in that is really taking away from the space that should go to having thicker arms, longer legs, etc. And you can definitely tell where Wind Charger suffers from that. Likewise, Tailgate. And Tailgate is another interesting problem because his IDW version took off so much more. Like the G1 character has no character. Basically, yeah, he was one of those mini-bots that existed to get stomped by Trypticon, and that was it for his entire characterization. IDW pretty much put in all the legwork to make a character out of him. So what do? Do you make him like the G1 toy? I guess you have to if you're going to make him G1 Wind Charger. They did that. They did that at the Legends scale. They did Tailgate, and then they did IDW Tailgate, and then into Wind Charger, and then they did the inverse. So where do you split the difference? If you're going to do Wind Charger again at a deluxe scale, it's kind of a hard one. Like this one, genuinely baffles me on what exactly you can do to make it work. It's not the worst scenario, though. We have Gears to deal with as well. Now, Gears is a really weird situation. Gears appeared on the original promo art for Transformers Kingdom, but he also appeared alongside a bunch of other characters that eventually got canceled. A crocodile fossilizer, I think the original woolly mammoth fossilizer. We eventually got one. The saber-tooth tiger got canceled. Polar Claw got canceled. And yeah, Gears got canceled as well. I'm trying to think back to the poster. I might be misremembering the mammoth. But regardless of my failing memory, Gears himself should have been shown by now. If the toy was in line to the point where he was included in the artwork, where was he in Legacy? Where is he in Legacy Evolution? There isn't even a listing for him that I am aware of. It's a complete mystery. It's very weird for a G1 character to get put on the back burner and then completely forgotten about. This was a toy that was slated, which means obviously it was designed to some extent. It was going to come out soon enough that they felt comfortable putting him in the artwork. No sign of him. So what happened? And where do you go from here? What do you do with Swerve? Who is arguably more popular. Gears is a first year G1 character, but IDW did so much to make Swerve a fan favorite. Again, you're dealing in very different styles in order to kind of split the difference, and that's going to make doing a new version of either one kind of difficult. Again, it's a weird situation, but Gears, unlike Wind Charger and Tailgate, never had a brand new toy devoted to his style and his cartoon accuracy. So in this case, I feel like it's his turn, and then we're just going to have to go with a G1 cartoon accurate Swerve for the eventual redeco. And hopefully it comes with my first blaster, is at least give a nod to the Swerve that we love. All right. I know. Hear me out. I just reaped praises on this wheelie because it's a good wheelie for its size, but the key word here is for its size. It is a core class figure, which in Studio Series works. It puts him in scale with Grimlock. It puts him in scale with a lot of the exosuit figure, but we do acknowledge that he's not really that small. Not in the cartoon, not in the long run. You see him in Five Faces of Darkness when he's paired up with Blur. You get an idea of how tall he is there. Yeah, he's small, but is he so much smaller that he shouldn't be upgraded to a deluxe? Huffer was about the same size. He gets to be a deluxe. You could say the same for a lot of these like mini bot pluses that we have gotten in the last few years. So I would be in favor of just like another wheelie attempt that's just a little bit bigger. Just like like maybe a small-ish deluxe, like Bumblebee or why did I blank on his name? Cliffjumper size, and then just pack in something to make up the difference. I might be in favor of that depending on how it comes out. Speaking of, okay, so yeah, the Bumblebee and Cliffjumper molds that came out are decent toys, but still, feel like there's room for improvement. They commit one of my biggest pet peeves in Transformers, which is a part of it comes off, a shell of its vehicle comes off, slaps onto them again, and says, "That's a shield now." No, it's not a shield. It's the back end of a Volkswagen Beetle that you didn't bother engineering into him. If it was a shield, it'd have some transformation element to turn it into a shield. When the deluxe Ironhide came out and the top of the car came off and folded up into a shield, you know what? Okay, he's kind of like a security officer type. I can believe a riot shield from him. And when it's Ratchet, okay, fine. It's like the repair skiff from the G1 toy. Okay, I can kind of go with that a little bit. But when it's Bumblebee or Cliffjumper, for that matter, shields do not seem like Cliffjumper's speed. It just looks like it's a third of the vehicle mode just taken off, put aside, so the designers didn't have to figure out where it's going to go in the engineering. And I hate that. I absolutely hate it. If it's going to be a shield, make it look like a shield. If you're going to just take a piece of the vehicle and part form it, don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. If I want to use it as a shield, put a peg in there and say you can use it as a shield. Otherwise, at least just be honest. It's like, just be honest. But in this case, yeah, like I would love to see Bumblebee and Cliffjumper and all the subsequent repaints and retools those two got redone in something a little bit more akin to like a fully encompassed Transformer that doesn't do so much of this part forming. I would like to see that. And again, like I don't like the Deluxe Plus. I'll go with it for Wheelie because he should be pretty small. And admittedly, Cliffjumper and Bumblebee are like the smallest of the mini-bots. So, okay, fine. You know what? We'll get away with it for them. But I do think it should be a little bit better than part-formed shield and giant cannon that only works for Cliffjumper. And then, like, subsequently, everybody got giant cannon. Put in, it's Bumblebee. Put in his, like, Action Master partner. Throw something fun in there. Let's go up a few scales here. How long has it been? It was Thrilling 30 when we got a hold of Sandstorm, his first new toy that did his triple changing from G1, and not in the least accurate. The toy is missing a lot of details from his original figure. He's based on, for starters, he's based on an IDW take on Springer. So, like, already the details are going to be very, very far off. I do feel like it's a clever design to turn those big back wheels of his dune buggy mode into the VTOLs of his vehicle mode. He's not a VTOL. He's not. I'm still waiting for an accurate one. I understand this one is probably going to be difficult getting a dune buggy into a proper helicopter. But, and then, like, figuring out a way of reusing that for a subsequent toy? Okay, fine. That's not going to be the easiest thing in the world. But you know what? I've seen worse. I've seen crazier things done in this franchise. I'd love to see the attempt again, especially now that we're giving so much credit to like the triple changers. Springer got a really good, original like accurate triple changer. Um, I take issues with Astro Trains, but his is not too bad either. 2/3 of Blitzwing is fine. 2/3 of Blitzwing is fine. So I feel like it is definitely time to attempt the other triple changers, because at this point it's only fair. That's going to go for Octane as well, who actually, I really like his Titans Return figure. I bought the Legends version when I had the chance. I kind of want the Nemesis Prime they made out of this, because I think it's a really clever way of making this, like, interesting version of Scourge/Nemesis Prime. But it is time to give him a little bit more of a boost and give him just a little bit more of an upgrade from this. I still think this is really good, but you could probably do a little bit better. Probably do a little bit better now, and I think you could do a lot better. I think you could do a lot better on this one too. I hated this toy from the beginning. Oh my god, I hate this toy. Like, what is that jet mode? What is that jet mode? And part of it is because it shared tooling with Alpha Trion, and I don't know which one was supposed to come first, but man, like, okay, so they both have this like this aircraft carrier mode. It's a spaceship for Alpha Trion, it's an aircraft carrier for Broadside. But then like you realize that secondary mode for like the secondary mode went from a lion to a jet. It's not the smoothest transformation. This is not the smoothest transition you could make. So it's a really weird one. All right, so yeah, I would absolutely be in favor of please, another Broadside, please, and don't just make it a Voyager. Don't make it like show accurate. Do not make it a cartoon accurate one, because then we're gonna be looking at like Commander class. I take that back. If you could do a Commander class and then remold it into like a tidal wave, okay, I'll give it to you. I will give that to you. I just kind of want to see it that big. That's all. My boy Trailbreaker. I would love for him. So my issue here is that the toy was done as hoist first, which means that this version of the toy has a few things that are not really present on a cartoon accurate Trailbreaker. He's got those big panels behind his arms. He's got much more of a paunch than his original animation model had. It's admittedly a minor one. Like, if this just ends up being like the de facto Trailbreaker, okay, fine. I'll deal with it. I'll deal with some displeasure. But for the most part, yeah, I would love to see another take where Trailbreaker takes priority over Hoist. But okay, I admit that's just a personal peeve of mine. Did anyone like Trax? Did anyone like this Trax figure? This Trax figure seems so plagued and problematic. I would love to see another take done. Now, granted, it does everything Trax does, but it's just not, it doesn't feel good. A lot of things just feel a little bit too loose. There's a lot of weird design choices to it. I'd be in favor of another go around, even if it is just like take this one and just fix it. And sometimes like it's as simple as just, can you copy the homework but then like fix the spelling errors, that kind of thing. So I threw Trax in there just because, yeah, I'm also not, I know a lot of people who weren't happy with that Trax, and the boy deserves better. Shockwave also. Shockwave was the first experiment into doing like a Voyager Plus at the leader scale, to actually like take his take his design and throw in a whole bunch of extra parts to bulk up the price point. Okay, fine. Shockwave's a popular character to do that. But the problem with Shockwave, unlike the others, is it's not just bonus parts. It's not a caboose full of guns. It's not a big pair of Hulk hands. It's all the parts needed to actually make his vehicle mode look like the spaceship it's intended to be. You can see here in the group shot, without that, yeah, he looks like an upside down gun. No, I'm sorry. He looks like a submarine. The problem here is you can't flip that upside down to use as his traditional G1 blaster. The handle is too small because, toy gun regulations. So it comes off really lacking to me. I really don't like the fact that it's so dependent on its extra parts in order to look like a proper vehicle. You can imagine it as some kind of spaceship, but it just doesn't look the part, and you can't get it out of your head that that is just Shockwave upside down with a small handle. I know you're never going to get him as the ray gun again, but at the very least, I'd like to see him adapted into a vehicle mode the way Megatron's been done in recent years, so we don't have to go through things like this anymore. Also, I never liked the armor. It just looked weird. I don't know why he has armor that makes it look like that has extra arms. It makes it look like his legs are on his shoulders. Yeah, I know. It's just weird. Let's go big. Let's go big. Now hear me out. This is a good toy. I actually really do like this Devastator. It's a fun group of 6 to play with. But we do acknowledge there are issues. For starters, the Constructicons don't feel like Voyager level characters, especially because this is older Voyager, which means they're a good bit bigger than all of the Siege and like Generation stuff that's coming out now. So it doesn't feel quite right when you're in the individual components, and those individual components we know did suffer in order to make this possible. The articulation on a bunch of them is limited. A lot of them are hollowed out, like really weirdly, like they don't feel good as individual toys. Uh, Long haul. I'm sorry, long haul. I definitely feel like this, now that they've done so many combiners, now I feel like they could do this in a much fresher and much more integrated way. So I'm kind of like hoping that that is like the next evolution. Like if they're going to keep up with this improving combiner thing they're doing with Menasor, I'd love to see Devastator done a little bit smaller, a little bit more solid, and maybe a little bit more even across what all 6 of the members are doing. I feel like we're at that point where that's probably not outside like the realm of possibility. It just needs to be it just needs another go now that they have more combiner experience. Our very first Titan. So, Metroplex, I've made this argument before, I'll make it again. It's decent enough, but you could definitely tell they were not sure how to handle the Titan class price point at this time. He actually feels a lot more hollow and a lot more like thin in parts than a lot of the Titans that came after him that seemed to use the budget a little bit more effectively and made things a little bit more solid. I could also say the same thing for like Fort Max, who's suffers because he's a retool of this one and is like absolutely needs a second go around. Like if I wasn't focusing on like the first 3 years worth of characters, I would have put him in too, but he's year 4. But Metroplex needs it too because, of course, this is the fall of Cybertron design. This is not G1 Metroplex. And I'm sorry, G1 Metroplex should never be the same size as like Fort Max. Like there's just something wrong in the world where Fort Max isn't the tallest of the city bots. So I would love to see kind of a downsized and G1ified Metroplex make it back into the Titan class, especially now that we're kind of out of Titans. I feel like recycling one probably wouldn't be the worst situation. And I will continue to make that argument. I want Metroplex again, just not this one. And last but not least, and here's a really weird one to put on this list, but I don't think many are going to disagree. Megatron gets so many toys, and yet so many times it does not turn out the way it needs to. So this one in particular, the Siege and then the Earthrise Megatron. Number one, he's wearing a third of the tank on his back, which is really ugly and really cumbersome. And it really doesn't inspire a very good transformation. I've never really liked the transformation on this figure with the weird way that you have to like transform the barrel and stick it in. And of course, and then like, just like this massive backpack full of parts, the way the chest works. I don't like this figure. I do not think it's nearly as smooth. Like the engineering and the love that went into like the Optimus Prime for Earthrise, I don't feel that with this Megatron. This Megatron just kind of feels a little bit cobbled together, especially when you get to the Earthrise one, and it kind of gets worse because once again we have part forming that is just pull piece off, stick piece on. Oh, it's a gun now? Yeah, because we say it's a gun. Or because we say it's a spear, even though he can barely hold it like a spear. I know, I hate the fact that this mold always has something weird with it. And then I hate that how many times this mold has been used. You think of how many repaints this mold has had. The only version of this mold that actually has clean legs is the shattered glass one that also tries to make him a jet. I don't know what it is with this mold, but it always does weird things, and it never quite does what I think it's supposed to. What would feel like a proper modern G1 Megatron. Yes, I know he has to be a tank, but I've seen tank Transformers handled so much better than this. And with no battle damage paint too, which is also a huge plus. Oh my god. So that's everything I could find. So that's everything in the first 3 years of G1, where I feel like there's room for improvement. And even though they've had new toys recently, we could definitely use them again. It's a weird list to create because I'm complaining about things that are still relatively new. It's not like, well, this guy hasn't had a toy since G1. No, like new figures don't really come out that great either sometimes. And yeah, sometimes it's justified to go back and do them again, even characters who have been done ad nauseum. I'm looking for that definitive version, and as long as I feel like there's room for improvement, I'm still going to look for it. So, agree or disagree, let me know in the comments below. If I left one out, let me know, because that always means I have another little bit of video to make later on. So, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.